Hello everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a Mystery Mystic reading, and in particular a series I'm doing surrounding the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan out of Nova Scotia, Canada, Pictou County, Lansdowne Station. They are still missing. I am recording this video as of Monday, June 23rd, 2025. It is almost 4 o'clock p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. And I want to explore the Child Protective Services, or in Canada's case, it's Children's Aid Society. Essentially the agency who is tasked with investigating any claims of abuse or neglect. I want to take a closer look at something that recently came up in the news, which is that there was a report that was given to their agency. I guess it's like a welfare agency, children's welfare. I don't know the official long name, but I know CAS is what I've seen Canadians mention. It's the equivalent to CPS, right? So I just have a few questions for this reading, this particular reading, and we're going to get into it. All right, let's do it. Question number 1. What triggered the CPS or CAS investigation? What triggered that investigation? Because I know that the stepdad has indicated it was because of developmental delays. I do recall mom mentioning that the kids may be autistic, but never officially tested. But usually, I can't speak for Canada, but usually, it's not developmental delays alone that would trigger such a report or such an investigation. Now, I don't know how Canada does it. If you all have experience with these agencies, please let me know in the comments section. All right, so we've got 4 of Earth or 4 of Pentacles. The key word on this particular tarot card is stability. 4 of Air says truce. Now I want to ask this. Was it anything beyond the alleged developmental delays? Was there anything beyond that? Yeah. 3 of Pentacles is a yes card. Now, I want to explore this a bit further with Oracle. No contact. Okay. This card has come up before. What I get a sense of is yes. There was concern that the kids weren't getting the support and stability that they need. I want to direct you all because, my videos are not, entertainment purposes only. It's also educational for those who desire to do these types of readings. When you know about tarot, you know about the basics of numerology. 4 is about stability, a foundation. And what do we think about when we think about stability, a foundation? We think about home life. And something was going on in the home. There could have been allegations of mental stresses, verbal alleged abuse, something that would indicate that was communicated perhaps by the kids to an educational person, someone who works for the educational system in their school. That's what we're seeing here with the 4 of Air, 4 of Swords, about their home life. The stability was, it felt uprooted. It didn't feel settled. The kids, I don't know if they had started to, over time, like there was a progression of them from going through autumn to winter that showed this person who did the report, and it was mentioned in that article that it was somebody probably at their school that did the report, but they noticed a progression about the kids. Okay, now I know that there's been mention that the kids were nonverbal or they had limited language skills, but that alone is not enough. Okay, and so in this Three of Pentacles indicates, no, it wasn't just that. The kids were not supported. There were recommendations given that were ignored. And so there needed to be exploration into why the recommendations from the school were ignored. I say that because of this oracle card. It says no contact, block, silent treatment, cut off all communication. Someone was no longer playing ball with the school staff. And that became alarming because the kids were, their ability to function day to day in the classroom was deteriorating. So that indicated to the staff at school that there was something going on at home. Fours are about stability. We got two different fours. They were concerned. They were concerned about their safety. I'm going to look at the shadow aspects. And in the prior readings I've done on my channel, and I will be doing another review soon of the past cards, so stay tuned for that. We got the abuse neglect card in two different readings. In the opening oracle reading I did in part 1, and I can't remember in which tarot reading I did, but it came up. And this is all alleged, right? What's in the shadow, Spirit? Bottled up. Many unexpressed emotions, time bomb, holding back. So again, it's just no communication. There was recommendations. You know how like you send, or if you're a parent and the schools send you different forms to sign or different things to explore, they notice something about the kids. I remember back in the day, you know, my kids, they'd be like, okay, we're doing this certain kind of testing, hearing testing, or they're going to check the spine for scoliosis, and you don't show up. I would be curious to know their attendance record, you know, at this school. And how long did they attend the school? Is particularly Lilly, because little Jack is only 4. So I can't imagine there's much of a record at all, but it's Lilly, right? Bottled up. And somebody who works with the kids may have seen something. Okay, a time bomb. But the holding back is the key phrase here that stands out to me. It goes with this card, cut off all communication. No forms being returned back to the school. No engagement when they're picking the kids, you know, when it's time to have you go up to school. Because if they're taking the school bus to and from, the parents aren't always going to be there. Whereas when I was dropping my kids off, we didn't have school buses and things of that nature. So usually the teacher, if the teacher has something to say, or any of the other school staff, they'll come out to the car and say, hey there, you know, little Johnny is doing this or that, or I didn't get that form back from you. What's going on? And there's direct communication. Phone calls were being ignored. And it was becoming concerning that there was some sort of alleged neglect. So that's what I got here. You all let me know what you think about this. I'm going to zoom in for a minute so you can see these cards. But yeah, and they could have seen something brewing. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about what was that brewing up, and something where this person who reported it has serious concerns about one or both of the parents and their lack of involvement, lack of communication, not following through, not responding to the different requests that the school was sending, messages and calls being ignored, allegedly. Okay. I do understand that in Canada, to get resources started for kids who may have developmental delays is challenging. I understand that, but it seems like there was some kind of extension or like an outreach, and that was being ignored. And so that raised alarms, and also the kids coming and something about them, the kids themselves, deteriorating in their mental state. You can tell when kids are in mental distress, even if they can't speak up. You can tell. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next question. Next question, question number 2. Who ultimately set that environment for CAS to even need to get involved. I want to pull a card for mom and then dad, all right? Because that's who they live with. Mom and stepdad, I should say, not the biological dad. Mom, card for mom, spirit. Okay, 6 of fire, 6 of wands for mom. What about the stepdad? What I'm looking for is the type of card that comes up. Okay, I'm looking for the type of card and the number. Okay. All right. Let me bring these down for a bit so we can look at them closer. Now, 6 of fire over the ace of swords. I would say that it's the mom. And I'm not saying that she's abusive or anything like that. But it's the mom. The calls were going to the mom. The outreach was going to mom. And therefore, the mom felt like she just kind of put blinders on, allegedly. You know, she wasn't really taking the call. She wasn't really following through. And then you have to ask, well, why is that? These cards are going to explore what the dynamics, the shadow dynamics were in the house as to why she didn't. But nevertheless, she is the root cause of why this report was triggered, not the stepdad, allegedly. It could be, I could be wrong. But out of the two, the 6 supersedes the ace. Ace is associated with the number 1, ace of swords, right? Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't play a back role part. He did. The ace of swords or ace of air is about new conflicts, new challenges, constantly doing, trying to approach things, or, you know, having the mom distracted with new different things she has to tend to. But ultimately, what triggered it was the school is trying to connect with the mom and she's not responding. And that alarmed them for whatever reason. They could be concerned about even the mom, right? But she is the central figure. 6 of fire. She's the central figure as to what triggered it. Now, some of you may say, well, maybe she was doing something to the kids. I don't think so. I feel like that abuse neglect card is more about neglect. Now, it could be about the A word, could be. But I feel like what precipitated this concern from the school is mom not being responsive, okay? And then stepdad being in the background, constantly throwing little monkey wrenches into her day where she's just not able to really focus on it. Maybe it's also the new baby, you know, who knows? But he isn't what triggered it. That's interesting to me. I didn't expect this arrangement here. We have mirror. This is the shadow aspect. Reflect your own issues. Like attracts like. That's interesting. Toxic, destructive relationship, manipulative, gaslighting. Okay. And lastly, dark side. Your dark side keeps you from enjoying the love you have. Don't let it steal your joy. And so that's what we're here. This is what we're talking about here. It was a toxic situation. She attracted this partner. And it was just, you know, if she's only witnessed as a child growing up, toxic relationships, allegedly, and then her prior relationship with the kid's dad, allegedly, and now this, it makes sense that the pattern continues. He himself, I don't know the stepdad, Daniel's background. We know he comes from a prior relationship with 2 kids himself. You know, and I don't know what he saw growing up with his mom or dad, but nevertheless, they are a mirror of reflecting back to one another. Reflects your own issues, like attracts like. And he's not egging her on necessarily to say, hey, call the school back. Hey, did you see that form that came, you know, in the kid's backpack? Or here, let me take over. Let me fill out the forms instead. I see the school wants us to come up and meet with them. You know, do you think we can go ahead and bring little Meadow up there with us? He wasn't doing none of that. In fact, he was acting a little immature about the whole situation with the Ace of Swords. And then dark side, what this led to, this toxic, destructive relationship, manipulative, gaslighting. Now, some people would say maybe it's her towards him towards her, or both. Mirror. That's why it's trippy to me that everybody's trying to take sides of, you know, the stepdad or the mom. At the end of the day, it's a situation that they both find themselves in where the kids ended up missing, right? So dark side. Your dark side keeps you from enjoying the love you have. Don't let it steal your joy. But too late. It stole the joy. It's interesting. But yeah, out of the two, to answer number 2, the question, it was mom that ultimately kicked off this, you know, the questioning and worry. Because had she been returning the forms or responding back to messages or communicating with the school, that whole CAS investigation may not have even come to pass. They may not have even been so concerned about what was going on in that house or trailer or whatever it is. All right, I'll be right back. All right, now we're getting into number 3, and it's a little sensitive, and it's all alleged. But yesterday, we saw on a Criming Shame, that channel, where the biological dad's mother, the grandmother, the paternal grandmother of Lilly and Jack, shared some recent text message exchanges with her and Malehya, this mom. And there was a few things out of those messages that struck me. But one of the things, since we're talking about the CAS investigation, is Belinda, the grandmother, and we'll say alleged because we don't have full-on proof that these text messages belong to her, but the tone and tenor does seem to suggest it is her and Malehya. Belinda asked, "What are you afraid of? Why are you needing to keep Meadow away? What are you afraid of?" And the response back from Malehya was CPS. I want to know, question number 3, why is Malehya worried about CPS? Obviously, because she's worried that they would take the child, but that's a little odd to me. She's not worried about keeping the baby safe, you know, unless we'll see what these cards say. She's not worried so much about that as she is about CPS involvement, right? Like they're on their heels. Now, I have some thoughts about that. Look, 8 of Earth, circumspection, the family here. Also, my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding with First Nations or Indigenous people is they're very afraid of the government's interference, right? They're, you know, because it's probably a long-standing fear that they're going to come and take her one and only child that she has left. Father of air, look. Yeah. I think ultimately she may still be afraid of a father, not her father, but it could be Meadow's father. Could be the Lilly and Jack's father, but it says father of air, which is traditionally the king of swords. And a father of air, someone who's been communicating, but it also could represent the judicial system. Mechanical, look at that. The law. Going through the motions, checked out, routine. But look at the person in this card wearing an official uniform. And these cards are indicating she has good reason to be afraid with the 8 of Earth, 8 of Pentacles. She's seen where CPS has taken children before, rightfully or wrongly, and she's really afraid that they're going to be successful in getting her one and only child, which I have already done readings where we've explored, does she believe, you know, I get the energy that she knows that her kids are no longer with us. A mother's intuition knows, but I also think she knows beyond a mother's intuition. I think she knows with more validity that the children, sadly, are no longer with us, allegedly. But she's afraid of what a particular man's words will do. Negativity. Anything else, Spirit, before we wrap up this reading? Nothing else? I don't want nothing else from this deck. That's okay. Let's try this one. So I showed you this one. She's afraid of the law. She feels like they will be successful. If not, there's been some definite intervention in the past and present and in what will come in the future as it relates to CPS involvement. She feels like she's rightfully concerned and she's doing what she can. So some people are like, oh, she's running here and running there. This does show some kind of migration happening. These little elephants, these elephants moving, but they're moving slowly, which means that law enforcement, they're not concerned about her leaving the area per se, but nevertheless, she's having to move through a system and having to be very careful. She's also trying to, you know, not succumb to negativity. There's a lot of people from the father's side communicating with her, as she indicated in those messages, the father of air, not just him, but other people. And it's put a dark negative cloud over her. It says, let a dark cloud above you. Or it says, like a dark cloud above you are depressed, extreme moods. So, yeah. And she knows that if she's not careful, she slips up, this person wins. Make it rain. It says legal matters in your favor is one of the key phrases that I think stands out. This card came up for her in one of the past readings. I have a feeling that money is an issue or will become an issue, but nevertheless, there's another reason why someone is trying to get their hands or clutches on Little Meadow, and it's not because they're concerned about her safety. It is monetary, because if that's the case, you then get to collect for that child, right? Reconciliation. This father of air is hoping for a reconciliation with him and perhaps his daughter, okay, or with him and Malehya, okay, and he'll do whatever it takes. But there's something else that's a little sinister and disturbing. It is this Make It Rain card. Meadow. I wonder if mom gets some sort of compensation for Meadow. I don't know what. I don't know if it's from the government or if it's from stepdad or not, but he has a vested interest in reconciling with the child, even getting custody, even putting a negative cloud, like a dark cloud above. You are depressed, it says, extreme moods, to make her seem unstable, crazy, so he can get access to the child to ultimately break this mom down, and then ultimately to make it rain, get the money attached for that child, allegedly. Money is going to become a growing issue for this father of air, okay? It's going to become a growing issue. And so the easiest way to kill two birds with one stone, to A, make her break mentally with negativity, turning the folks and the law against her, to bringing her back to reconcile with this unfinished business card. It literally says forgiveness, reconcile, but also something to do with money, about the child, about Meadow, allegedly. All right, hopefully this I only have one more question, and hopefully it records this time. I was just talking away. I look up, I'm like, it's not even recording. All right, be right back. Last question. Question number 4. Will it become an issue, this report, and how much does it weigh on the, like what happened in the disappearance? We have Ace of Wands, which is a yes card. It will become relevant, more relevant than just the developmental delays situation. Okay, with this Ace of Wands. Now, how much of an impact, Spirit, will it have on the overall either investigation or... Yeah, that's what I thought. Or the impact of how this plays into the grand scheme of the story of what happened to little Lily and Jack. And it will. Just like I mentioned earlier, it's the little girl that really kicked it off. Yes, Jack, is a part of that, but it feels like Spirit is saying it's a report tied to little Lily, maybe out of her classroom or someone working with her. But nevertheless, it is going to play a role it wasn't by accident. Let me just back up here. It wasn't by accident that it was released. Like, it's almost like law enforcement is breadcrumbing us with information. Being very strategic in what they said. They don't believe it's an abduction. Early on, after they did a search for a while, they said, we don't believe that the children are alive, right? Or that they could have survived. Then we find out, a month later, that the last time they were saw was Thursday with, a sighting on, I'm assuming, a witness or a camera. I don't know. I guess the camera caught them out and about at a mall shopping. Now we get this report that was filed. They're breadcrumbing. The $150,000 reward, which it depends on, just so you all know, it may not be $150,000 that somebody gets. It just depends on how much they share that value that impacts the finding of the kids, the quality of their tip. But it could be up to $150,000. But it's by no accident that they're breadcrumbing every single thing. They're applying pressure to someone, right? And it will come to pass that we will at some point find out how it ties into how this report, how this little investigation in the months preceding the kid's disappearance, what role that played and how it added mounting pressure, bottled up. It added mounting pressure to an already combustible situation. You know how volcanoes are. It's just brewing. It's just brewing. Desire. Intense feelings, yeah. That's what the Ace of Wands is saying. It's going to, it's going to blow. Something was going to blow is what Spirit is saying. It's going to have an impact. Anything else from this deck before we wrap up this reading, this part of the reading? Double lie. That's interesting. Liar, deception. Some of these, okay. These oracle cards may seem like these don't apply, but sometimes what it is, it's keywords and you have to open and expand your understanding or your mind of what these keywords are saying. So for example, there's a desire, intense feelings, intense stands out to me. It's saying, yes, this is going to have an impact, or it is going to influence what we think about the family unit and that property, and not just the mom and dad, the entire property. I still plan on doing the readings on the family dynamics. So that is to come, I have to say. That's going to be quite a doozy to take on. And I'm traveling, international travel next week. So I don't know when. I'm hoping I can get it done in the next day or so. Hopefully today even, if I have a little more time, but we'll see. But I want to know more about the mom, the stepdad's mom. What can she tell us? What are the family dynamics on the property? We have double life, liar, deception in another relationship. This is not to throw around rumors. This is just to say, sometimes a double life, this card could mean that someone was planning to get out. And so they were simultaneously living a different, two different lives, I should say. And it could be tied to a female. So it could be the mom, allegedly. I feel in my heart of hearts that she had been trying to get out of this situation. Her main focus was on that. And she was preoccupied with that. Preoccupied, and just hoping that she'll be able to focus on her babies, on her kids, on their developmental issues, on the autism diagnosis. Once she got out of this situation, she had a strong desire to leave it, but that didn't come to pass. Something led to a combustible situation that week that the kids disappeared within that property. And it will come, we will get some clues, more clues, if we were able to access that report, which is why it's so frustrating. And I get it, we don't want to compromise the investigation, but it's frustrating that we can't know, because I feel like it will have an impact. This is a yes card. You can barely see that yes. And it was triggered by Lilly or someone in one of the providers around Lilly. This isn't necessarily translated. I know there's a rumor like, oh, she started a new life. And if you all believe that that's your belief, I don't believe that she was cheating on him, mom was cheating on stepdad. I feel like, though, she was plotting and planning to get out of there. And that her focused on the baby, her focused on this creation of this new life became a priority. And she just kind of put it on the back burner with dealing with what was going on with the kids at the school, including this report. That's why you can feel some level of quote unquote deception from the one and only interview that she did with the news. And that's one of the key words here. And so that's what my intuition and what I'm seeing in my mind's eye playing out here. So you all let me know what you think about these cards. Do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please be respectful in the comments section. These are actual real life children. Do not come in my comment section telling me what to speak on. That will be an immediate block. Okay. Most of my peeps over here are very respectful, very thoughtful, very insightful and intuitive. You all really, just show exemplary skills on how you express yourselves. And I'm so thankful. When I get back from the United States, I do plan to do something quite special for my subscribers and my members. I want to maybe do like a little marathon of pulling cards for you all and doing readings, and maybe having some of my favorite tarot friends on with me. So you all stay tuned for that. And you pray for me as I get ready to travel from where I'm at now to the U.S. next week. Oh, God, I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to it. So you know what I mean, right? Anyways, you all take very good care of yourselves. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.